Hi, welcome to my podcast entitled The Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright Jr., the founder and host of this show. I am now beginning my 9th year as a school superintendent and my 24th year as a public school educator. Over those years, I've been fortunate enough to get to know and work with some amazing leaders from all across the United States. The vision of this show is to share these podcasts with you so that we can learn and grow from people who are working and learning and leading others every day. Our initial focus is going to be on educational leaders, and we'll look to expand to other disciplines down the road. When you hear something that you like, please drop us a comment, click like, or if you're viewing us via YouTube, please click like, and most importantly, that subscribe button. I've been absolutely amazed at the responses we've received thus far. The show is growing by leaps and bounds, and for that, I'm thankful to you. This is episode number 18 of The Wright Experience. My guest tonight is a veteran public school educator who has served both in North Carolina and in Maryland's public schools. He has served students at all levels of leadership as a teacher, assistant principal, district-wide director, and now he continues his work as an assistant superintendent in a large Maryland school district. My guest tonight is Dr. Daryl Kennedy. As a student growing up in Prince George's County, Maryland, Dr. Kennedy's most vivid education memory as a child was when he and other children in his neighborhood were bused to a predominantly white school 30 minutes away as a way to integrate Black and white students together. This experience would shape his education career. Dr. Kennedy began his education career in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools in August of 1994 as a teacher and later as an assistant principal. One of the highlights of his career as a teacher occurred when a majority of students in his self-contained special education class passed the 7th grade writing assessment. Dr. Kennedy also started during that time a mentoring program for male and female students with special needs with members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated from UNC Charlotte. In 2003, Dr. Kennedy moved back to his home state of Maryland and began serving as an assistant principal and later principal for Anne Arundel County Public Schools until 2012. While he was principal at Meade High School, the school was recognized as a top 6% high school in the United States based on the Washington Post Challenge Index that measured academic performance. International and nationally recognized programs such as IB and Homeland Security were started under Dr. Kennedy's leadership. In 2012, Dr. Kennedy was hired as the Executive Director of Principal Support and Accountability for Baltimore City Public Schools. In this role, Dr. Kennedy supervised 25 elementary, middle, and high schools over a 7-year period. And in 2020, Dr. Kennedy began his current job as a Regional Assistant Superintendent for Anne Arundel County Schools in Maryland. In this role, Dr. Kennedy provides coaching, supports, and accountability to principals through participation in instructional learning walks, instructional leadership, and teacher team meetings, data performance conversations to ensure that every student meets or exceeds standards as achievement gaps are eliminated. A lifelong educator of 26 years, Dr. Kennedy's educational purpose is to provide voice, strategy, and action on a daily basis on behalf of students, with a special emphasis on traditionally underrepresented students, being students of color, students with disabilities, students identified as English learners. Dr. Kennedy has demonstrated the ability to be an effective leader, coach, and motivator with a track record of school and administrative success. Throughout his career, providing traditionally underrepresented students opportunities and actions to experience academic success has been his lifelong mission. And now I have the pleasure of welcoming to the Wright Experience, Dr. Daryl Kennedy.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Wright.
Thank you. You look more like your big brother every day.
Well, yeah, we have some semblance for each other.
There you go. There you go.
He's my hero, though.
There you go. All right. So, Dr. Kennedy, tell us about the Anne Arundel County School District for the viewers that are not familiar with it and the specific responsibilities that you have serving as a regional assistant superintendent.
Fantastic. Anne Arundel County Public Schools is a suburban school district in Maryland. There are about 80,000 students that are a part of the school district, with a majority of the students white, but you have about 40 to 45% of the student population that are students of color. It is a growingly diverse school district in Maryland. And I am happy to be a part of it. I live in the school district. I have a child that's in the school district, so I'm very much a part of the school district. My responsibilities include supporting and providing monitoring and leadership to principals in an effort for them to improve the performance of their schools. That's done, as you read in the bio, by participating in learning walks and just having strategic conversations with them. My job is to support them. Principals and folks at the schoolhouse have the most difficult job out there. And whatever I can do to help support them and the teachers at the school is what I try to do. So my job is really about support and providing advice and guidance to make their lives better, and in turn to make students perform at a higher rate.
And it certainly helps. I know that you have been a successful principal yourself when you're coaching and mentoring principals. That certainly helps. And then in your district that you served as principal, certainly that's a double blessing for the people that you work with. So outstanding. So Dr. Kennedy, talk to us a little bit about, we've all kind of almost maybe come through the pandemic. We're still dealing with the remnants of it. But what lessons did you learn as a leader during the pandemic that you believe might shape the future for you and ultimately schools?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dr. Wright. As much as teaching and learning that was done during the pandemic, the lesson is the importance of relationships, and making sure that we are ensuring that teachers, administrators, and obviously students are whole. We had to make sure that we look out for each other, whether it was through food support, whether it was through ensuring that students have the technology that was needed, whether it was just ensuring that if they had particular issues with learning some of the assignments, we offered tutorial supports for them. Support was the most important part. And I saw some amazing things happen in Anne Arundel County by administrators, by teachers, by central office personnel around that support. So I think that what it sort of gave me continued enthusiastic for humanity to see the amount of support that was given out. So, that's something that I think that we will take forward. And that's something that I know that, we have all grown together, just the amount of love and support that we have for one another.
Wonderful. And certainly I also saw and understand that some of the best work our educators did was during the pandemic, having to, in our case, and not sure if you all had this same challenge, but in our case, having to juggle that blended learning. We had some folks that could power right up on their computers, and in our case, we also had some that did not have internet access. And so I know you guys being suburban, you might not have had quite as much of that, but just the amazing work that our teachers did during that time, of course, is unparalleled.
Yeah, there were some issues where in some parts of the county where internet can be an issue, and in those cases, we would put students on buses and bring them to schools and make sure that they were learning too. So it was a struggle, but we came through. And again, what was very exciting was just to see how everyone banded together, central office personnel, and obviously school-based personnel, and what we did on behalf of kids. It was just wonderful, just like I'm sure it was wonderful in Hertford County.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about some innovative strategies or practices that your district is employing currently that you believe might be good for others.
social emotional learning supports, and what we've done. And I'm gonna stick to the theme of supporting students, right? Those
Sure.
are things that our district have done that I think have made a huge difference this year. I am very proud of not only the focus that we've had in our elementary schools, but also our continued focus in our middle and high schools, with just making sure that students again are fed, right, are clothed, and just have the right, whether it was right wraparound services or mental health services that are needed. I think that as we continue to go into next year, those experiences and those services that we have in place will just get stronger. When I think about some of the innovative things that we've done, again, technology. When the pandemic started, and I'm sure our county is not the only county that experienced that, it was a learning experience for everyone, right? The
Sure.
first months were trials and errors. But by the end of the pandemic, what I saw as far as like small group instruction via technology, and just some of the awesome creative things that were done are things that we can bring back when we go back to school. Technology is a game changer. And I think, what we can take out of the pandemic is those exciting, technology games that we can bring to the classrooms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Dr. Kennedy, I know over the years you've had the opportunities to select leaders, be it principals, be it assistant principals when you were a principal, and so forth. So, when you are selecting a leader for one of your schools, what are some characteristics that you look for?
Yeah, great question. The first characteristic is integrity.
Okay. Okay.
One of the things that I've learned at an early age is that, your values, your mission, your purpose is what's going to drive you every day. And it doesn't mean that we are all perfect. And it doesn't mean that we do not make mistakes. But integrity and doing things the right way is something that I think is just like very important. The second thing that I look for is expertise, right? As far as principals, having a track record of improving performance. And that can look in a variety of different ways, whether it's a mentoring program that was started to enhance students coming to school, whether it's a reading program that you sort of picked up on or you enhanced to increase students' literacy skills, right? Those are just some of the things that we look for. So just the mission and the purpose and the integrity, the experience or the having background of improving performance. Those are just like two immediate things that come to mind. And then being able to collaboratively work with folks. As a principal, and as as a former principal, you're not doing everything by yourself. It's no more one man or one woman show. So having the ability to bring and galvanize students and staff together for the purpose of being and about children is what we're looking at, because that's what's going to drive you every day. Your focus on children and you being able to bring everybody together. So those are the three things that just come to mind.
Okay, very good. And certainly those are key points to a good leadership. So there you heard it, audience. That's what you need to be a good leader, especially in Dr. Kennedy's district. So that's a good thing. All right. So of the many accomplishments, and you've had many, we've read some already, but of your many accomplishments as an educator, what are some of your proudest moments?
Yeah. As I think over my years, I just finished my 26th year, and the time flies. But I've had some great and awesome experiences that I would not change for the world. And I think that's why that the 26 years have flown by, because I enjoy it so much. Just remember my first teaching experience, second or third year of teacher in North Carolina. We had that writing test, and I was teaching self-contained special education students how to write. And they had to take that writing test. And I was just determined to make sure that they passed the test and they experienced success. So I worked with teachers to make sure that my skills were honed, and just work with the students. And I had 9 students in the class, and 5 of the students passed the writing test. And that was it just taught me what could happen. What are the possibilities that can happen when, students are provided with the right supports. And as an educator, I'm providing my students with the right skills. I also had the awesome pleasure of starting a mentoring program there too. I am a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and
you can say that twice if you need to, Dr.
Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, as you are, Dr. Wright.
That's right.
Just having mentors from the university that I graduated from come back and work with students was just awesome. Right. Just seeing the love that they showed for some of those students with special needs was just experiences that I will never forget. As a principal, I think that was probably my most rewarding job because there's nothing like the awesome responsibility of running a school. I was able to do so with a great group of assistant principals and department chairs and teachers that just gave me energy. The 6.5 years that I was a principal in Anne Arundel County just completely changed my life as far as what the possibilities were. Through the hard work of staff, we were able to have a couple of different IB and Homeland Security programs that help engage students, and we were able to really improve performance. And I had people believing in me. I had our current superintendent, who was a high school director then, and Dr. Alado and Dr. Maureen McMahon, who was an advanced studies executive director then. They just believed in me and really allowed me to work with my staff and students on behalf of kids. So, those experiences were just things that just brought out like joy in me. As I transitioned to Baltimore City, working with an awesome group of principal supervisors in a very urban district, right? In a district where there's a whole lot of challenges that students have to deal with, other than just school. That just taught me a lot of how important education was. And in spite of possibilities, right, how important it is to have clear and high expectations and have the supports for kids, but know that performance and student performance is really the number one goal. And then being back in Anne Arundel County is just awesome, right? I'm back home. I'm back in the district where I live in, and just working with people again. The superintendent that was my high school director, a deputy superintendent who I work with closely. I mean, those are just, these are just things that I will always cherish, working with people that I have relationships with, and that I care about and that care about me. So those are just some of the highlights and some of the things that I've done over my career that I hope I've given back to others, and I know they've given to me.
Oh, there's no question about that. As we look at the work that you've done, certainly you have a lot to be proud of, and we also are proud of you and the work that you've done and continue to do. 26 years, so you got me by a couple of years, but that's great.
I started a little earlier than you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was busy doing other things. That's the answer I'll give on this forum. How about that? So what advice would you give to a person who aspires to serve in a leadership capacity, particularly with the twist on doing so, because your experience has been in urban and suburban districts. So what advice would you give to a person who aspires to serve in a leadership capacity in a large district?
Yeah, especially if you're talking about a principal position, and then we'll talk to others, is really knowing what your purpose is. Knowing that your purpose is about students, and knowing that your purpose is about kids. I think that, as you go through education, and as you know, if it's really about you trying to get to the next level, or you are trying to build up your own resume, you're going to shortchange kids, and you're not going to, in my mind, have a fulfilling education career. And you probably won't get to where you want to get to, right? But as long as you're focusing on kids, and that's the area that you are striving to make sure that its betterment is, whether you're at the school level or whether it's a central office level, then that's what I think that we all need to be looking for. So just knowing your purpose is, to me, the number one priority that goes with having and moving to for a school leader, for someone trying to get into a leadership position.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. What steps do we need to take? There's a lot of competition out there for traditional public schools right now. We've got charters, we've got private schools, we've got home schools. So what steps do you believe we need to take to continue to make sure that public education remains the best choice for families?
That is a great question. And as we, continue to come out of the pandemic and then moving forward, I just think that the focus on ensuring that, again, and I know I've used this theme all the time of taking care of kids and taking care of families, but this focus on keeping people whole is important. I have a former colleague of mine in Baltimore City, Roger Shaw, who really talks about the importance of making sure that humans are whole. Sure. And I think that one thing public education can do is really hone on to that, continue to hone on to that, and again, focus on the social emotional skills of not only kids but like parents also. As we move into our next phase, what we're going to find is that in addition to taking care of Johnny, who's a student at our school, taking care of Mrs. Johnny or taking care of Johnny's sister is something that we're going to always have to continue to do too. Again, the theme of taking care of families and social emotional learning, which is pretty much the educational jargon for that, which I call just take care of folk, is going to be something that we're going to have to continue to do. Yeah.
And we're seeing that already. Not sure if Maryland is doing this, but in North Carolina, we have mandatory summer school that was initiated by the General Assembly. And so we are already seeing that we are going to have to deal with, at an even greater level, some of the social emotional learning challenges that face us. And so when you say taking care of folks, that's spot on. I mean, that's exactly what we're all having to do. And we should have been doing that work anyway. I mean, that's nothing new to us as educators. It's just probably the intensity of the focus certainly is different now. So.
Yeah, just giving another shout out to my school system. Good. This summer, it's free summer school for all students.
Oh, good.
And it's a variety. You have dance and art. You have enrichment. You have some remediation. But one of the things that I'm super proud of is again, our Dr. McMahon, who's our Deputy Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and then the awesome principals and teachers that we have are really making an effort to have students come to these summer programs and really have that experience. So my daughter's going to be in one too. So we're just really excited to have those experiences for folks. And one of the things that we did do was we made an effort to make sure that the students that are in these programs, are diverse, right? We made sure that we contacted families that may be at times hard to contact during some of the traditional summer school activities, right? That allow for enrichment in dance, right? That allow for enrichment in language. But we made sure that we reached out and connected with many of them, and many of them are enrolled in our summer programs for the summer.
Wonderful. That's outstanding, and that diversity is certainly key. It should be key during the school year, but particularly during summer. So is your summer program started yet, or is it upcoming?
It's going to be coming. It's going to be starting. It's just different versions of it, right? We have some sports camps that are already started. Right. We have some enrichment that are already started, and then we have others that are going to be starting after Thanksgiving, after 4th of July. So we really have a variety of different programs, right? From athletics to, again, enrichment and arts to traditional academics, and they're just starting at a variety of times, but some of them have already started.
Wonderful. So you mentioned earlier about the fact that your district is becoming more diverse. And we're seeing that all across the nation, where public school districts in particular are becoming more Black and brown. So Talk to us a little bit about what you see as some challenges that we need to be prepared for with an ever-changing community.
Yes, I think that as we, right, as a nation, right, experience more students of color, ensuring that there's different ways of reaching those students are very important. I am a huge fan of culturally responsive teaching in the brain by Zaretta Hammond. I receive her newsletters. I have a book and articles that I read from her, and what she really focuses on is not only the social and emotional learning part, but the academic enrichment or the academic focus for different aspects of students, right? So we're not monolithic, right? African American students or Latino students are not a monolithic group, but like really make sure that you're thinking about like just best practices for students and knowing not only the family history, but knowing the family. So, those are just things that are just very important for her. You're combining social emotional learning, you're combining the community, and then you're combining academics together, but you're really looking at it from an individual student's point of view. So, as we continue to grow in our students of color and diversity, whether it's across the nation or in Maryland or a specific county, just making sure that we know how to reach individuals is important. We're not going to be able to do it the traditional way, right? Where you're just lecturing, and we're getting away from that, but just really continue to focus on culture responsive teaching and some practices around that I think are going to be really huge.
Outstanding. Dr. Kennedy, is there anything else that you'd like to share about the work that you're currently doing or have done in the past that's perhaps not well known or that I did not cover tonight?
Well, I will say that, that question strikes me too, like even when I hear the word Dr. Kennedy, right? Some people may not know that, like, it took me a while to get a doctor, right? And I think that it's important, that I say that, because every time I hear the word doctor, right, I sort of just think, well, only by the grace of God did that happen, right? And so as people, like, as we close out and as we answer get to the final questions, I'm always thinking about like my purpose, and I'm always thinking about like what is next in store. So I think that everything seems to happen for a reason, and so as you continue to grow in education, those careers, I think just following your purpose is still just going to be very important. So nothing that that is new. So I know your question is there anything that you didn't get to, and not really. You talked about a lot, but the doctor part of what you just said sort of just struck something that I know was a long time coming. So just strive and continue to work for things that is in your purpose. You'll get it.
That's an awesome thing to make sure that we cover, because that process is not a slow process. In my case, I think I did 5 years of work because I was a principal during that time, and so couldn't really commit the day-to-day time to it. But we both got it done, didn't we?
We did.
And so
and it's through a lot of my family.
That's right.
And I come from some good stock, right? Brothers and sisters and a lot of cousins and everything like that. So family will bring you a lot of things and push you in ways that you may not think. So so yeah.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kennedy. If you'll hold on with me for a minute here, we'll come back and close out.
Okay, thank you.
My guest next week on The Wright Experience will be Dr. Murray Williams, who is the new president of Roanoke Chowan Community College in North Carolina. Dr. Williams has just recently arrived to the town of Asst in the last couple of months, and I'm excited to talk with her on next week. That podcast will air July 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Dr. Kennedy, I want to thank you so much for being my guest. I appreciate your willingness to be a part of the Wright Experience. Look forward to having you back on this platform at a later date. I know that folks in Anne Arundel don't want this to happen quickly, but especially when you get that new superintendency that's coming in your future, I can see it, and I think my audience can too. But I hope this podcast certainly motivates all of us to be better. And again, Dr. Kennedy, just want to thank you for your awesome insight and wisdom, and we are proud of the leadership that you're providing for children.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very satisfied where I'm at right now, but we'll see what happens. And I do want to thank you too. You've been a mentor, Dr. Wright. I've talked to you a couple of times, not only this year but in previous years too. And I want to thank you for continuing to mentor me, because it makes a difference, and I appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. Folks like you make me look good, so I appreciate that. Thank you all for watching The Wright Experience. Good evening.